On Christmas morning 2002, a construction boss from West Virginia woke up as the single largest undivided jackpot winner in American history, $314.9 million. 5 years later, he was telling reporters he wished he had torn that ticket to pieces. And here is the strangest part. Jack Whittaker was not reckless. He was not poor. He was already worth over $17 million the morning he won. He was the one person who should have survived this. He didn't. And the reason why says something uncomfortable about every single one of us. Jack Whittaker had spent 12 years as president of his own contracting firm in Putnam County, West Virginia. Self-made, church-going, the kind of man who wore a black cowboy hat and paid his crews on time. On Christmas Eve, he stopped at a supermarket in a town called Hurricane for a breakfast sandwich and bought a quick pick ticket with his fuel. When the numbers hit, he took the lump sum, $170 million, about $93 million after taxes, and he did what the experts say you should do. He pledged a tenth of it to churches. He started a charitable foundation. He bought his teenage granddaughter Brandi the light of his life, anything she pointed at. For 2 weeks, it was a fairy tale. Then the letters started. 50,000 letters. Strangers with sick children. Businesses about to fold. Churches with leaking roofs. People followed him into restaurants and waited by his truck. Everyone who had ever known him remembered him fondly, and everyone who hadn't suddenly wanted to. Jack hired 3 people just to open the mail. Then the money started leaking. In August 2003, thieves smashed into his car outside a strip club and walked away with $545,000 in cash. Cash he had started carrying in a suitcase because banks had begun to feel like enemies too. The lawsuits piled up next, over 400 legal actions. A casino sued him over $1.5 million in bounced checks. His marriage of decades collapsed. Here is the first thing the psychology tells us. Sudden wealth does not just change your bank account. It changes how every human being on earth treats you overnight. And identity is social. When every friendship becomes a transaction, trust dies first. Then judgment. Researchers who study windfalls have a name for the spiral. Sudden wealth syndrome. The money isolates you exactly when you need other people to keep you sane. For Jack, the worst of it came through the person he loved most. Brandi's boyfriend was found dead of an overdose in one of Jack's houses. 3 months later, in December 2004, Brandi herself was found dead. She was 17. Jack said the money killed her, not the drugs. The money that made her a target for every user and dealer in the county. Now, you have probably heard the famous statistic. 70% of lottery winners go broke or bankrupt within a few years. It is quoted everywhere. News anchors, finance gurus. Maybe you have quoted it yourself. Here is the problem. That number is fake. The statistic was attributed for years to the National Endowment for Financial Education. In 2018, they publicly disavowed it. It came from a single unverified comment someone made at a think tank back in 2001. A guess became a citation. The citation became a fact. And the fact became the most repeated money statistic on the internet. Nobody checked. For 17 years. The real research is less viral, but far more interesting. Economists studied tens of thousands of lottery winners in Florida. Winners of $50,000 to $150,000 were half as likely to go bankrupt in the first 2 years as small winners. Sounds great. But by year 3 to 5, they were filing at the same rate. The money did not prevent the collapse. It only postponed it. And when those winners did go bankrupt, they had almost nothing left to show for the win. It gets stranger. Canadian researchers found that when someone wins the lottery, it is their neighbors whose bankruptcy risk goes up. The bigger the win on your street, the more the people around the winner borrow and spend, trying to keep up with a race they never entered. The money does not just change the winner. It changes the whole street. Two forces in your head explain almost all of it. The first is called mental accounting. Money that arrives as a windfall gets filed in a different mental drawer than money you earned, and the rules in that drawer are looser. You would never gamble a year's salary. A bonus? A win? That barely feels like spending. The second is hedonic adaptation. Whatever luxury shocks you today feels normal in about 90 days. And once the extraordinary becomes your baseline, ordinary starts to feel like poverty. So the spending ratchets up and never back down. Jack Whittaker spent his last years fighting banks he said had let his accounts drain away and died in 2020 at 72. The winners who survive their own jackpot tend to do the same three things. They stay anonymous where the law allows it. They change nothing for a full year. And they hire an advisor who is legally bound to act in their interest before they tell a single friend. Notice what those have in common. None of them are about intelligence. All of them are about friction. The survivors make their own money deliberately hard to reach. Jack Whittaker was the most prepared lottery winner imaginable. $17 million of experience handling money. And it still broke him. Because the problem was never the money. It was what the money did to every mind around it, including his own. If this file was worth your time, subscribe. The next autopsy is already on the table. The athlete who earned $100 million and ended up bagging groceries, and why athletes go broke even faster than lottery winners. Every fortune leaves evidence.